My brothers, welcome. You know, I don't know how to describe this moment, but I believe that for every country, possibly for this country, on the eve of 1776, they must have been saying to themselves, so we are going to declare independence. And what happens to Britain? Are we going to get eaten? Are we going to get all killed? We know what history tells us happened after that. They declared independence. They forced Britain to fight them, and Britain got humbled. They prevailed, and we can now enjoy the freedom that this country gives, thanks to the fight that happened. Now, we always remember that they proclaimed independence, and we never remember that 50,000 lives were lost. There was an independence war in this country and 50,000 people died. If you consider that the population of those 13 colonies that declared independence was only 3 million people, 50,000 people was a lot of lives. And that blood provided the freedom that we enjoy today. It was the courage of those people that made it possible. We're at a point where our people have war declared upon them, where the choice is between being a victim and fighting to survive. It has been a choice that has been imposed on us, a war that has been brought to us, a war that our people need to survive from. And so you have to ask yourself tonight, what is the best approach to pull this struggle forward? And we have to remember what we are trying to do. We are trying to constitute a country. We already have territory. We have a people. And we were completing it with a government. I hesitated to say government because I don't want us to be blinded to reality. And I ask you to hear me not with your ears, but to hear me with your inner ears. Hear me with your conscience. Don't let the truth that's speaking to you from the bottom of your conscience, don't let it die. Hear that truth. And the truth is that the international community wants us to conform to a certain number of norms. They want a government that says, our people gave us a mandate to speak on their behalf. They want a government that when it sits up, it says that when all the comrades were together, they agreed and they picked a leader. They want a government that when the world turns around, they say, we have data to back the decisions we're making to admit into our midst a particular government. We cannot forget our history. The United Nations has received at least 6 previous governments of Amazonia. You have to ask the question, why would they recognize one over another if one does not produce the data and statistics that is needed to establish beyond doubt that that government is indeed the government of the people? There's a reason why the people of Catalonia picked to do an election before asking to be admitted as an independent country. Because after a people pick a government, even the United Nations cannot change that fact. That's one of the predicaments of the United Nations when the people of Palestine picked Hamas as their government. It became impossible to reject it. That is why when Yasser Arafat was undoubtedly the leader of the people of Palestine, he still needed, when the Palestinian Liberation Organization was going to be admitted as a government within the United Nations, it was called the Palestinian Authority, and Yasser Arafat, from the peak of his popularity, still had to submit himself to a vote to be recognized as the leader of Palestine. When Nelson Mandela walked out of jail, nobody was in doubt who was the leader of South Africa. but an election established him as president and head of government. So it is important for us to understand that we are going to need to conform to the international community. Now, there is a danger for us to lose patience. The United States, when they declared independence, it took them 1.5 years to get the first country to recognize them. The Kingdom of Morocco became the first country to recognize the United States in 1777. They had to wait that long. It's a big, beautiful country, but no one was recognizing them, and until you are recognized, you are not a country. And we have plenty of work to do to get our country to recognition, but we must stay patient. We must stay patient, recognizing that although we have done this great work in the past 1 year, many people still think that Cameroon is a Francophone country. Many people don't still recognize that we are two countries in one. Many people don't know the resolutions that all of us now can recite by heart. The 5-year-olds in Ambazonia now can sing our anthem. They feel absolutely proud. We know that we put it in their DNA, but the world doesn't know that. The people of South Africa, 26 years of Mandela in jail, the world still did not understand why apartheid needed to crumble. And so our campaign, which has been initially local, with our people, it's at a point now where we should internationalize. The world needs to understand our cry, and they need to come to our support. Anyone who watched MSNBC last night saw George Clooney on that program. They were re-establishing the path of South Sudan to independence. Without George Clooney, without Angelina Jolie, without the Congress of the United States, there will be no South Sudan as an independent country. Without the Congress of the United States, there will be no East Timor as a country. Without the Congress of the United States, without the United Nations, there will be no Israel. Now, I want us to believe in our right to defend ourselves, but I also don't want us to give away an advantage. Mr. Biya's government can fight us in only one area. They can only fight us militarily. That is the only thing they have got. That is the only thing they can win. We must do this war on our terms, and our terms are to oblige the Biya government to deal with us on the legal matters, to deal with us on the diplomatic matters, to deal with us on the issues of the autonomy of our people, the sovereignty of our people. It is the battle they will lose. I like to use the example of La République running away from the war with Nigeria over Bakassi. They knew that Nigeria will crush them in the war in Bakassi. So they did not pick that battle. They picked the battle before the courts of law and before diplomacy. And thanks to that, they won it. Now, we could not ask the people of Israel or the Jewish people around the world, and especially in Germany, when Hitler was killing them and passing them into gas chambers, we could not have told them that the only thing you should do is to walk into the gas chamber and be killed. So I'm not saying that to the people of Southern Cameroon. I'm not saying that to the people of Amazonia. Every people have a right to survive. But every people have a right to map out a strategy that ensures that every battle is fought on their terms and that they do not give away their advantage. Mr. Biya's government is desperate to move this issue from the United Nations General Assembly, where Resolution 1608 would absolutely slap him in the face. They want to move it to the UN Security Council. Before the General Assembly, France does not have veto power. And if the General Assembly sat today and we're discussing Resolution 1608, Southern Cameroons will be free. But Mr. Biya wants a war so that he can evoke peace and security. He can evoke Article 2, Article 51 of the United Nations. They can bring in a Chapter 7 force into Southern Cameroons. They can evoke peace, lack of peace and security in the Gulf of Guinea. And they can move the matter to the Security Council, where the entire world can vote in favor of freedom for Amazonia, and France will veto it. And we will get nowhere. My people, we must do this with plenty of intelligence. It's a delicate moment. It is a time for us to pick our battles. It is a time for us to pick only the battles we will win. But it is a time also for us to recognize that it is urgent that we do it, and we do it properly and close it. A last point I will make is, yes, let us defend ourselves. But there's a difference between killing in self-defense and killing in retribution. When a soldier attacks a student in Bayele and he gets killed by our people in the self-defense, that is not retribution. We know that La Republique has planted too many things and are doing too many things. We can't walk into that. The truth is, our work is cut out for us. I'm glad that we are gathered here tonight and we are looking at what we should do. And I hope all of us realize we cannot telephone our next move. Thank you very much. Welcome, and good luck to everybody.